as well. And joining us with more is DW correspondent Emily Leshner in Berlin. Good evening from Delhi to you, Emily. Now, what was on the agenda on the whole at this NATO meeting?
Top on the agenda is Ukraine. Yesterday, foreign ministers expressed their unwavering support. This comes more than 1,000 days after Ukraine was invaded by Russia. And they expressed support but did not extend an invitation to join NATO, which Kyiv was reportedly hoping to get at this meeting. This doesn't really come as a surprise because a handful of NATO members are still opposed to letting Ukraine join NATO, including Germany and the US, which is NATO's biggest member. But because of the belief that doing so would be perceived by Moscow as a provocation and spark a much larger war. But Ukraine sees full NATO membership as the only viable deterrent to more Russian aggression. And it also believes that the US and the UK have a responsibility to allow it to join, since 30 years ago, they convinced Ukraine to give up its nuclear weapons to Russia with the assurance that Russia wouldn't use military force against Ukraine. But a U.S. senior official present at the meeting said that the Biden administration would do whatever it could to put Ukraine in the best possible position for potential future negotiations with Russia.
All right. Now, Emily, Donald Trump has said he will pull aid for Ukraine once he takes office and that he will end the war. Now, what's the U.S. doing right now to prepare for the possibility that Trump makes good on his promise?
On Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced a package of missiles, ammunition, anti-personnel mines, and other weapons worth around $725 million U.S. dollars. That's nearly 700 million euros for Ukraine. The anti-personnel mines have been pretty controversial because unexploded mines often harm and maim civilians long after wars come to an end. And the 1997 Ottawa Treaty bans their use, but neither the U.S. nor Russia are parties to this treaty. Right after the war between Russia and Ukraine began, Kyiv started requesting them from the U.S. The Biden administration, again, is trying to do everything it can to support Ukraine before Trump takes office again, except for allowing it to join NATO as a member.
And Emily, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz was just in Ukraine as well. So what came out of that particular visit, which was of relevance here?
The same day Antony Blinken announced a new aid package for Ukraine, Scholz did touch down in Kyiv for a meeting with President Zelensky. It was a signal to both Ukraine and to Russia that Germany continues to stand with Ukraine, no matter what Trump tries to do in his second term. Scholz promised that Germany would deliver arms worth around 650 million euros by the end of the year, including air defense systems, drones, and Leopard tanks. But the arms package does not include Taurus missiles, which Zelensky has repeatedly asked Germany to provide. Taurus missiles can find targets more than 500 kilometers away, and they're hard to detect by radar because of the altitude that they fly at. So they would give Ukraine a significant military boost, but Germany has been very reluctant to hand them over because it could spell an escalation of the war. But despite this disagreement, Zelensky expressed his gratitude to Germany for its support and for being the top European donor to Ukraine. To date, Germany has provided a total of more than 37 billion euro in support for Ukraine. And while Scholz was in Kyiv, he also paid tribute to Ukrainian soldiers who died in combat and met with wounded soldiers at a hospital.
Emily Leshner, thank you for joining us from Berlin.